National Police Commissioner's last day in the job. The President's given Khehla Sitole his marching orders amid growing tensions between Sitole and Police Minister Khehla. So where to next for Sitole? Well, Aviwe Mtila is spending the day looking into this, and we cross to him now. Aviwe, a last day, and I remember that the Minister Khehla had asked Khehla Sitole a couple of weeks ago for an update on all the latest high-profile dockets and quite sensitive information, which was not really something that would normally be done. Do you know whatever happened to that request?
Yes, that request coming in, I think, 3 weeks ago from the police commissioner. Of course, it was no secret that they didn't personally see eye to eye, of course, and that announcement coming from the presidency that this is in the best interest of the country. Coming in, I think, on around the 25th of February, the mutual agreement between the presidency as well as the outgoing police commissioner, Khehla Sitole. Of course, he was not one that was shy from media headlines. We saw that scathing judgment on around the 13th of January from the Gauteng High Court that suggested that Khehla Sitole, as well as his two deputies, served better for the interests of the African National Congress than rather the interests of the country in its entirety. Of course, this is looking back to that 2017 matter of those 45 million rand cell phone grabbers ahead of the African National Congress's elective Congress. Of course, the headlines were there, even going to the July unrest where he was accused of napping, and we saw the police commissioner, Khehla, saying that he didn't receive the heads up from Sitole. Some of those allegations that have made headlines over his tenure, as he was supposed to just in 8 months' time finish off his tenure as a police commissioner. Not the only one, as we saw the last two police commissioners not finishing their tenures, but it is quite eyebrow-raising to see then this U-turn of a mutual agreement where initially there were talks of suspension and possibly even the president writing to him, asking him why he shouldn't be looked into his fitness to hold office. Some of the issues that I want to actually touch on with Johan Burger, Dr. Johan Burger from the Institute of Security Studies. Thank you for joining us at eNCA. But as I mentioned, Doctor, there are quite a number of eyebrows that are being raised in terms of the possible disciplinary action that we've been hearing of, and now what seems to be a mutual agreement. Many asking, is this a golden handshake?
Yeah, I don't think it's a golden handshake. I think it is just allowing the National Commissioner to step down, retaining all his benefits, and you know, the alternative would be for the President to follow the legal route in terms of a board of inquiry, which could take many months more, and it just would continue with the uncertainty and the leadership problems, and of course the adverse impact on police morale. So I think to avoid all of that, the President decided to enter into this agreement with the National Commissioner. So I think this was a wise move.
There seems to be a veil of secrecy in terms of his success. I mean, his last day coming in today, but we still don't know, as we had seen a precedent set by the President where it was transparent, even looking at the appointment of the SARS commissioner, or even recently the JSC, the constitutional head, for example. Is there a reason? What do you make of this secrecy that seems to be in place?
It's disappointing. We have been calling for a long time now that the same open and transparent process should be followed as they did, for example, with the National Director of Public Prosecutions, Batohi. And this didn't happen. So to that extent, it's extremely disappointing. But then, on the other hand, I think what is positive is that for the first time now, since we've had the South African Police Service since 1995, we have a process in place. We have a situation where more than 20, and that's my information, more than 20 lieutenant generals were invited to apply for this position. So you have a panel, something we also never had before. So all of these are a move towards and eventually an open and transparent process. So yeah, I think we need to be grateful that there is an improvement in terms of the way in which the National Commissioner will be appointed, a competitive process between more than 20 lieutenant generals. So hopefully, through this process, we shall see the appointment of a person to lead the police that would not have the kind of baggage that his or her predecessors has had before.
And then just quickly reflecting on his tenure, the last 4 years as the head of the police, the commissioner, how would you rate his hits and misses, given that, of course, the media headlines have been there, that even the July unrest, he seemed to be napping. Recently, that scathing court judgment saying that he was in favor more of the ANC than the country. How would you rate the last 4 years?
Yeah, I mean, I would not give him a very good rating. I think the facts shows that he was not an inspirational leader. He was not an operational leader of the police service. My information is that the police are left with more than 100 strategies that is left behind. So he was a strategic thinker, and his solution to every problem was to develop a strategy for that. It's impossible to implement all that number of strategies. And of course, as far as the KwaZulu-Natal situation is concerned, it is an unacceptable excuse for him to say he's run this from his office and operations room at his office, while one would have expected him, given the fact that the crucial part of the violence was happening in KwaZulu-Natal, and the police were then blamed for not being able to bring the situation under control, that he should go there in person to provide direct operational leadership, which he failed to do. So given all of that, and of course the court judgment and his attempts at trying to block the investigation into what really happened there, all of that I think works against him and does not provide us with a positive assessment of the kind of leader that he was.
And then just quickly, a lot of political parties are calling also for the head of the police minister, Khehla.
Well, I sympathize actually with the minister. I mean, I understand a lot of criticism against him. But if I was the national minister of police and I had a national commissioner of police, he was not operational. He was never seen on the ground, taking control of situations, directing the police from the luxury and the convenience of his office, I would also probably have been accused, especially since I was the national commissioner myself before. I would also have taken the position against the national minister that he didn't have overstepped the operational line.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Johan Berger there from the Institute of Security Studies, as today is, of course, the last day of Khehla Sitole, the National Police Commissioner.
Thank you so much to eNCA senior reporter Aviwe Mtila, and we'll look out for any announcement of a replacement for a new National Police Commissioner.